Evolutionary theory tells us that it's not just the strongest species that survive, nor is it the most intelligent species. It's the species that are most adaptable to change. And in this modern world, we find ourselves in a rapidly changing environment where education and skills have taken on increased importance.
The biggest thing people don't understand is what's happened to the labor market as a result of the merger of technology and globalization. There's been this skills bias polarization. So if you have the skills in education today to take advantage of the IT revolution, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine, and your wages will be fine, and you will have the ability to take advantage of this new world. But if you don't have that education, you're in real trouble.
Basically, our economies in the past had a great capacity to absorb low-skilled people. They could find a place in agriculture and a lot of low-skilled jobs that don't exist anymore, that are rapidly disappearing. In this global economy where all work that can be digitized, automated and outsourced can be done anywhere, you compete with people anywhere in the world.
We've blown a hole right in the middle of the labor market. So if you've got that technological education and skills, critical thinking, you're going to be fine. If you don't, you could fall right off the map.
Large numbers of our own adults are sitting around depressed, unemployed, unable to see any future. And these are not people who don't want to work. These are not people who are incapable of working. These are people who are disenfranchised by their lack of skills.
When I was at Gateway Community College, I was with this bright young guy, a 33-year-old electrician. He's doing fine. But there were two other guys who were there struggling with the instruction that was going on. One was a long-distance truck driver who'd been laid off, and the other one had been laid off as a warehouse guy, who obviously just been moving stuff around. That was tough for them to try to learn a new skill set. That's a population, not just in this country, but around the world, that doesn't have a very bright future in the modern workplace. And they'll become, in effect, wards of the state.
It's really a tragedy that we're seeing today. And it's an enormous risk for stability, for political stability, economic stability, for democracy, and you are seeing the result.
Well, I think the 26 countries were agreed on what the problem is. The problem of having insufficient knowledge on how well the adult populations are equipped to deal with the challenges of today's economies. And that was how PIAAC, the idea of PIAAC, was really born. And they realized that they can't do that in a national context. That in order to sort of look at the global dimension of competitiveness, they needed to know how their own skills, how their own skill distributions relate to what's achieved in other education systems now, to understand what's possible.
PIAAC is our response to what we found was perhaps a gap and a link between the education system and the real world. We have identified a mismatch in the skills area. This mismatch today is typically manifested in the expression of, say, a big leader of a company, a big entrepreneur who says, I cannot get enough skilled people. I cannot get qualified people. I cannot get enough engineers that know this or enough technical people who know that. And at the same time, you have millions and millions of people unemployed.
It's natural that we get scared by crisis. We get scared by anything we can't control. But skills is really about putting us in control, putting us in the driver's seat in this rapidly changing, insecure, ambiguous world, to deal with information, to manage information. I mean, that's basically the challenge that individuals face. And what PIAAC can do is it can tell us what are the kind of skills that matter for the success of individuals.
In this survey, we are going to get information on what has been happening to people since they left school, since they left full-time education. And I think that's extraordinarily important, because whether or not people retain their skills and whether or not their skills improve is very clearly related to what they do in the workplace.
This is about knowledge of the fundamentals of what is going on, knowledge in the ground, knowledge about the conditions that are driving the phenomenon that we are seeing today, but we only see the consequences. We don't know what is really happening or why this is happening. Once you do that, and you follow the phenomenon, and you know, and you measure, and you compare, and you analyze, then you can see very clearly where you should be heading to.
PIAAC will not only look at those relationships, but it will be able to identify some of the policy levers that relate to this now. Why are some systems much more socially cohesive, for example? How does this relate to the talent pool, to the shape of the skill distribution and so on? And by being able to see those kind of policy levers that shape those outcomes, I think we will learn a lot more about how we can improve our lives.
I think the most important thing that Andreas and the OECD are doing is this. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And right now a lot of people are on any road. And the most important thing that they are doing is saying, well, what are the best practices that are actually driving the most successful economies, particularly in the area of education. And once you set a global standard for that, and then countries can actually see where they rank and connect, are they applying the best practices that are clearly the formulae for success of the best economies, then you can really trigger a debate in these countries.
From an evolutionary point of view, adaptation is critical to survival. And so what PIAAC does is provide us with a roadmap, with a picture of those societies who are making adaptations and who are thriving, those societies who have failed to make the necessary adaptations or investments and have either stayed the same or who are falling behind.
We may find some countries that do not only generate a high level of human capital, but also quite an equitable distribution of human capital that may equip people even from disadvantaged social background quite well for the economy. We might find other countries where sort of the dependency of success is much more closely related to the social background that individuals have, and that will tell us a lot. When we find those differences, the high-performing systems, the equitable distributions, those systems, those countries will tell us what's possible to achieve. And PIAAC will tell us what the kind of policies are that are associated with that success. That's going to be a big inspiration for public policy to improve.
Well, I'm a big believer that there are two rules of holes. The first rule of holes is when you're in one, stop digging. The second rule of holes is that you can only grow your way out. You cannot bail your way out. You cannot print money your way out. You cannot stimulate your way out. You can only grow your way out. And in today's world, the only way to grow your way out is to educate your way out. Give more people the tools to invent, to compete, collaborate, and connect in a way that will drive your economy forward. That's the only way out.